Hey friends, welcome to my map guide for Dead Cliffs for Trials of Osiris. If you're watching this video the weekend it came out, the reward is the Aisha's Carapace Rifle, and, yes there's two of them, the Inquisitor Slug Shotgun, which slightly power creeps this sub-archetype of Slug Shotgun by instead of having Perpetual Motion in this slot, you get Lone Wolf, which offers bonuses to both aim assist and airborne effectiveness. Therefore, the role I recommend involves Extended Mag to make that airborne effectiveness even better, and the Adept version so that you can get an extra 5 handling with the Adept Icarus Grip. Then if you have a range or handling, barrel, and or masterwork combination, you're going to see close to 99 range and 99 handling when it's all said and done. And I said sub-type of Slug Shotgun because there's two subtypes. It's either high handling, low aim assist, or comparing it to something like Heritage, high aim assist, low handling. But when you consider something like Threat Detector and Moving Target instead of the perks I have, it does come out to a very similar 99 range, 99 handling, but with 78 aim assist compared to Inquisitor's 54. So although Inquisitor is a best in the energy slot, it might not be the best overall. However, its jump shot capabilities might make it the best, which is why it's worth getting. But a lot of you do play Void Hunter, so I would rather use something like Nessus Oblation if we're talking pure aim assist, because it can still get to very similar range and handling numbers, but also have opening shot with a higher base aim assist. You can also have Demolitionist or Dragonfly if you want to splash opponents. Then if you combine it with a power weapon for Harmonic Resonance, you can have even more handling. However, I don't like the look of Nessus Oblation. Those horns or tentacles or whatever they are really distracting. Compare that to Inquisitor, very clean, and then we compare that to Unvoiced from one of the new dungeons. Also very, very clean, which is why this is my preferred slug. It's my preferred slug because it is cheaper to use harmonic mods on both your chest piece and your helmets. Yes, I know I have some extra space here, but keep in mind this build is sometimes housing strand weapons, which cost more than kinetic siphon, so I just cannot fit big mods here. But y'all didn't click on the video for talking about slug shotguns. Maybe you got some extra info. I'm trying to do this in one take. Y'all clicked on it for Dead Cliffs information. I think this map is very simple, which is why it's challenging. Because a lot of your gunfights straight up come down to getting tapped by a hand cannon once and slit at with a slug or a fusion rifle. And it's the same case for a lot of maps, but a lot of maps have more space to work with where you can avoid the special weapon death without giving up map control. Let's talk about where these zones pop up. The first is at this yellow divider right here. The next is in the dark hallway right here. And the third is in the mill. The dark hallway and the mill are essentially played the exact same. So I want to start talking about the yellow divider first. This is one of the opening spawns. Keep in mind that you're going to see a zone indicator on your screen, and if it's to the left, just go to the left. Don't be fancy and go for a flank. It ain't worth it. If your entire team covers mill at the same time, you're likely going to win. The flank's not a good idea, especially from the other side perspective, if you think about it. Because look at this structure. It's like you could flank, come all the way over here, but if your airborne effectiveness sucks, you have to jump shot to clean up, or you have to jump up here, which is traveling farther than, now let's look at this side, than just peeking and shooting. It's way faster. Granted, if you tried that same peeking and shooting from over here, they have this air conditioner unit that does protect them, similar to this side. This air conditioner is just closer than that one, so it's something worth keeping in mind when approaching the mill side of the map. This is the other opening spawn. So again, I'm going to repeat this because someone out there needs to hear it based on the experiences I've had in solo queue. If the zone pops up to your right, go to mill. Don't try anything fancy, because you are not going to realistically clean up the opponents before they realize, hey, that guy's alone. Then they're just going to collapse on you and then play a 3v2 retake and probably win that, because they have enough time to pick up even more slug shotgun. So don't flank. Everyone got it? Okay, so assuming that the zone is going to spawn at the yellow divider, let's talk about what weapons you bring. I recommend Hawkmoon on this map, although it does suck at the yellow divider position. if you're breaking gentlemen's agreements and just switching weapons when it's convenient, then a scout rifle does a lot of work, and I guess we're calling this crack house. You can stand on this dirt mound right here and hit people moving to Ivy while still maintaining the angle to throw a grenade to clean up your damage, which is very, very awesome. You can also stop flankers from going into their spawn and lurking, hitting them in trucks. You can assist your teammates who are holding this pillar right here for people crossing to divider. You can also assist them yourself by stacking it, but you have to be wary of a dark hall flank. You can also even hold pipes to stop the flank while still being able to prevent the opponents from pushing yellow onto your teammates if your teammates are on pillar. However, I like to stop the dark hall flank by sitting on this head glitch and waiting for them. Let's of course put Hawkmoon on because that's what I'm going to recommend for this map, because Hawkmoon runs the mill side of the map. It struggles a little bit on yellow, but it's still very playable. Whenever I play casually, I do not swap weapons because I think that mechanic is really stupid. So, you always want to be ahead on health. That's like the name of the game with these team fights. So assuming I tap them up twice and I only take one, I know that they're back down. And I also know that from the perspective of the opponents, they also might want to move up since they're hearing gunfire, right? So it's like I put my 2 in and immediately I'm thinking I gotta push up. So this piece of cover that kind of juts out closes off Dark Hole from being able to clean me up while putting me in a position to maybe assist my teammates who might be positioned either in Crack House, on the pillar, or on the divider on either side, right? So now that's step 2. We got our damage, I'm ready to fly in. This could mean I lead with the smoke on the corner to kind of give me safety to be able to swing this closer, but keep in mind that typically from depot side, someone is going to be holding this common position, or maybe jumping on the box so they're not instantly sniped, or the most common position of all, this crate. This crate is so strong. You can airstrike this crate, but that's really, really advanced. And then sometimes you'll get like a scout rifle player playing the air condition unit, working a head glitch like this, or just jumping on it. However, you also have to be aware of a dark hole flank, right? So let's rewind back to... So step 2, since we just backed down Dark Hole, if he's going to retreat and go back to his team, that takes a couple seconds until he's helpful to his team. So in that time, you can get curious with your hand cannon, and even if you don't land a shot, just the sound of you shooting and taking their attention is doing something. And you don't want to just stand out in the open, you want to jiggle the corner. And if your radar, like also jiggle the corner, take your shot and go back to hipfire, because hipfire opens up the radar. If your radar says somebody is close right, meaning like this position or this position or something, and they're likely to have a slug or a fusion, then what you might want to do is take your curiosity shot. If you miss, no big deal. Switch to your slug and start considering backpedaling. If the radar moves, aim down sights and delete this player. If the radar also still shows dark hole, consider that you just hug this wall, get your hand cannon out, and get ready to work that other player again. And you're just going to keep repeating that and repeating that and repeating that until somebody gets deleted. And eventually, too, if your teammates are not very good, you're going to win the round by yourself because Hawkmoon is the best weapon for playing non-committal. And playing non-committal is really, really strong in Destiny 2, since if you commit to something, you're pretty much forcing a situation where it's your special weapon versus their special weapon, and look at how easy these things are to use. You're just really rolling the dice on the network, which is not a high percent play. So you want to be making these aggressive pushes around your utility, your cooldowns. Sometimes just throwing a smoke right there is all you need to do to guarantee that they're not going to slide forward with the slug, which means now you can open up a wide duel with Depot to back off Depot. And in reality, it might happen so quickly that you've now backed down 2 players. Unfortunately, you can't teach that sort of thing. So if your teammates are low experience, they probably have no idea that you basically shot an entire magazine of hand cannon and are just sitting here like this. So it is on your responsibility to recognize that. It's like, oh, my teammates are bad. They don't. Nope, your fault because you didn't recognize that your teammates were bad. And you can do that by, again, looking at the radar and seeing where the blue on your radar is. If you don't see that blue moving, you know that you're on your own. And yes, the game happens very quickly, but expert players can find that winning combination, that flow chart, faster than other people, which is why they win, which is why even if they get bad teammates, they still win anyway. So that is how I recommend playing Divider. Let's talk about now if you use a close quarter weapon, like Rat King. It suddenly changes how I approach this, because if I needed to stop a dark flanker, I can't do it from this head glitch anymore. I actually have to be up close. So maybe I crouch this, maybe I work this side of the pipes to kind of force them in. But realistically, what's going to happen is if you're using a close quarters weapon, your teammates have to get you in to the optimal range. Your teammates are baiting you. So what I typically do is I will jump to the center of the divider and just wait here, be a radar ping. I'm of course paying attention to the possibility of a flank, and you're going to get naded here, by the way. So you want to jump up in anticipation of nades, and if you get smoked, you're not out of the fight. Just because you get a smoke thrown at you doesn't mean, oh, I'm smoked, let me leave cover. No, you can just stay here, because they have to commit. And if you're smoked, it's often going to be followed up by a scatter grenade, so again, you might still have to jump. But sometimes you can just kind of simmer in that smoke, wait for a second, and wait until you hear your teammates firing a gun, which is a clue on when to leave the smoke to peek and fight something. And if you have a submachine gun or a sidearm, you can win against hand cannons, even if they're still close to cover, even if you're weakened and missing some health. You can still win or trade with that. Obviously, you're going to lose to a fusion rifle, but it's really all about just taking an educated guess on when the team fight's happening and using that as an opportunity to take space away from the opponents. Because sidearms and slug shotguns and fusions are really scary, so they might back down, which gives you the opportunity to cross. Now we're ready to cross, and if you're gonna cross, jump, use a dodge, something, slide even. Don't just like sprint out, you're gonna get deleted. So back them down, I cross, and now I'm in their spawn, and I've opened up new close quarter opportunities, because if they want to like 3v1 me, they have to do it on my terms now, because this is all close quarters. This is all close quarters that also leaves them vulnerable to being shot by my teammates in the back. But I'm also still close enough to recognize that if they're all going through dark or singling out my teammates, then I can just fly out with my sidearm and look to take some of that aggro back, maybe get a trade, and if you're using Rat King or something, maybe take out the whole team, because it might be as simple as they see me in trucks, so they think it's a free opportunity to fly up divider, which means that now I'm going to push Ivy to close out Depot to take my sidearm fight or whatever. I get a kill, reload invis health back, and now I'm fighting Depot. Now Depot's backed off, etc. That's how you have to think with these close quarters guns. So let's play that in reverse now from Depot side. So again, use those slants, jump up, bait the util, listen for some fire, crouch at opportune times to maybe go off the radar to create some sort of uncertainty of when you're going to peek, and be wary of getting stacked out by an angle where there's like 3 people on the same crack door. You might just instantly get deleted for your curiosity. So again, it's just an educated guess. That's the best you can do, but try to do it with your team. As soon as you hear some shots, now you slide to open up some close quarter angles again. And as I back one down, I know the other is primed to fly at me with the special weapon. So then I know my next fight is probably right there. Then I know my next fight is probably right here. And I just keep moving up and moving up as we keep backing them down in team fights. And again, it's all about your util too. Where if I did get somebody weak behind this pillar, and I know they're staying behind this pillar, it might be as simple as just throw a smoke, and now I've truly backed them off and prevented them from healing. I know to a lot of you this is very, very basic stuff, but I still see teammates insistent on using a close quarter weapon with no idea how to use it to contribute to a fight when I'm setting them up to be able to take space and they don't recognize the opportunity. Okay, next up, let's talk about sniping on yellow side. So if you're sniping on yellow zone, You're not that guy. You're not going to hit this shot. You will lose this every single time. This tournament sniper spot. Don't try it. They have the high ground. So instead, you anticipate curiosity, jump on your box, or just hug cover by the box, and wait for somebody to get curious on Divider. Or anticipate the Dark Hall flank. Or play your heady if your teammates are insistent on sitting depot and spawn in trucks and not leaving, and wait for somebody to get curious. Or if your team is active and taking Divider and Ivy Pillar, then what you can do is go up to trucks, to the fence, and you're going to see a beautiful angle that covers both their pillar and Divider at the same time, while being close enough to cover that if 3 of them peek this angle and stack it, you just move over to the right, and if you want to move up, now that you've wasted your snipe, it's still hand cannon distance. It's hand cannon distance all the way around, so you can back them down. And I want to explain something here. It's a concept. Just because the zone is right here doesn't mean it takes 3 of you to stand on it. What I mean by that is I just said, if I back down the opponents, let's say that they retreat all the way to catwalk. That doesn't mean I stop the aggression and go stand on the zone. 1 player does that, not all 3. Realistically, what it means is I'm not even trying to get kills anymore. I'm trying just to play keep away and keep my health higher than theirs. So let's say that I land 1 headshot, they land 2. Well, now I do back down, because I have the room to do that since I still make it to the zone. So that's how safe you want to play. But let's say in that same position, I'm now 2 headshots ahead on 2 different players maybe. Well, then I might want to push up, because that, again, creates more of a wall, more of a distance that they have to get to my teammates standing on the zone. And the biggest clue you have is the closer that zone is to being fully capped, the more aggressive the enemy team is going to play, the more desperate they're going to play. Since you know a desperate play is coming, that means you have to play even safer and think about how to involve your teammates that are on or near the zone in your own future team fight. And they don't actually have to fully cap the zone if they're trying to play the economy side of the game. Like, let's say you're in a true 3v1 with 2 opponents down, you don't have to cap the zone. You can just get it like 90% of the way there and then step off. Some players call that scummy, but I mean, it's on the single Guardian to push. I think the game's more interesting when there's an objective, so I don't think it's scummy at all. So that is worth considering. Let's keep talking about sniper rifles here. This is one of those strong positions that I'm talking about. You will win more often than not here. You can still lurk the truck. It's basically the same stuff I already showed you with the scout rifle. Let's talk sniping flanks. If you spawn crack side, do not flank. It is not worth it, because as you're exiting dark tunnel, first of all, that takes a long time. Your teammates are going to get ran over. You have to jump on this air conditioner unit to realistically see Ivy Pillar, which is where they're likely to be. And if you take the long flank, it's even more time for your team to get ran over, and you still can't see. So not a good idea. Now, on the flip side, if you spawn depot and you flank into dark hall, this is free real estate. This is fantastic. So you cut the pie, check all your angles as you're inching out, maybe throw a crouch here, just on the off chance that someone was aiming down sights, they lose their radar for even longer. When they check it, you might get that awkward timing. Remember that piece of cover that they can be wedged in. Just take your shot, be a nuisance, and be ready to full commit if the damage sounds good. But if you have invis or a lot of speed boots, Icarus dash, etc., you can go the really, really long flank. And you're off the radar for majority of this, by the way. Do you play this heady? Look for your angle. You can even jump on here if you want to, because realistically, you're going to have time to do it because they shouldn't be looking at you. And if you wanted to, you can jump on this railing and make this like awkward walk up here to still play a head glitch, but like, I don't think you need to. Not that this is really in the meta anymore, but I forgot to mention that glacier grenades go pretty crazy on this map. You can see their pipe. You could glacier right here to see one of the crack house entrances. You can glacier right here to catch somebody getting curious about yellow. You can also, I guess, do this for the flank too, but it's, like I said, it's going to be so long that your teammates are going to get ran over. So it is worth mentioning, but I think we should move on to approaching the mill side of the map. Hawkmoon, again, is fantastic for playing those really, really long rounds and still having an endgame strategy to win it by yourself. So first thing, look at where the zone pops up. To the left, we're already in transit. If you do not have speed boots, do not go to Dark Tunnel. If you have speed boots, you're allowed to chow Dark Tunnel. And this all has to do with the timing of when you get there. Because if they get there first, this is what's going to happen. They're just going to throw a smoke. I don't think this is a high percent play even with speed boots, and it's not because you can't hit the shots, it's because your slow teammate is going to block your only exit, and even worse, throw you to the wolves by sliding into you, and it shoves your character out to like right over here, and even though you landed 2 yellow numbers on 2 different opponents and got the smoke out, they're going to delete you, and your team's going to get ran over eventually. If you're really fast, you can confidently cross, but keep in mind if they're lurking pipes, there's a chance that you get deleted, but just have an idea of what to do with your low health. Maybe it just means you keep the slug out, slide it, and get ready to slug trade with somebody on that position. I'm not 100% sure. It's not that Dark's terrible, it's just that your teammates make Dark very, very dangerous. So let's assume that you don't have speed boots. Then what is your play? I already said it at the beginning, but in case you jumped around this video, flanking is not a very high percent play. It's not a good idea. So what you want to do is create a 50-50 situation. You don't have speed boots, so you're not going to hit this position faster than the opponent, which means they have already slid, they had already moved their crosshair and perfectly corrected it to hit you on frame 1 the second that you peek out. And right when they shoot you, they're going to back to cover, they're 1 headshot ahead. So to prevent that situation, well, also let's talk about the most important thing. Look at your radar and look at the blue on the radar. If you have a teammate directly next to you, sometimes it is a good idea to instantly chow, because there's 2 of you potentially shooting 1 opponent, which might be an early pick. But assuming that your teammates are slow and unaware, what you want to do is just jump over this angle. Now it creates a 50-50 scenario in the opponent's head, especially if they're aim down sights and lose their radar, or if you have invis. So what you can easily do is get your face peek for information. They could be on top of that box, they could be crouching, they could be a lot of places. But you don't want to wide swing and get deleted by 2 players, you just really want to have a guess of where people are, and sometimes the sound of gunfire can tell you that story. The blue on the radar can tell you that story, for how many of them might be in that dark tunnel. So you're forcing the opponent who's mirroring you to guess. I think this side is stronger than the other side due to the position of these stairs, where they have to guess that radar ping either being exactly where I'm standing, or 1 position ahead of where I'm standing, or jumping through this window to be right here, or completely disregarding your safety and running straight to here. So that's what their radar ping has to suss out. And from their perspective, if they're trying to challenge you, they have to guess correctly where to position their aim. And keep in mind that the gun model blocks the low chow, so that might be worth it for you. Of course, if they're invising, they can see through their gun model, so that's worth considering. And you're likely going to have to slug trade right here, but sometimes that could be a good thing, because if you get a lot of damage in and they use their slug shotguns and fusions early, your teammates can clean up house. So let's work it back to step 2. Create that 50-50 scenario. Just because you get damage here does not mean you have to commit to it, but if you do back them off, you can move to this position now to start another fight, or this one to maybe help your dark hole. So a lot of variety of things to do. I typically do see opponents sitting in this corner with a slug shotgun, so it's not entirely safe if you were to approach from the other side. You can shoot through this glass, but remember, you're exposed to the other side. Let's say you did enough damage to back them down. There is no gunfire to signify any sort of urgency. You're able to play this now. I like this piece of cover because you can keep jumping on top of it for a head glitch, backing down, and they really just don't know where to guess half the time, depending on if you catch them in between the jiggle. So you can rip people off of that position. It's fantastic. Now let's play crack side. Crackside has more safety because of that air conditioner unit position. So I'll show you this. What do? We look at where the zone spawns. And we also prioritize the future power ammo, which spawns on, I think, round 3 in dark, over the zone. So if the zone goes yellow, but power ammo is in dark, we go dark. We do not care about flanks. Okay, so I'm not fast enough to challenge dark. Want to jump up. Be right here again, except difference is, if there is a flanker, this box protects me. But I have the downside of having to better guess where they're going to be on my mirror. So now you've seen what an optimal start attempt looks like, and the opponents are going to recognize that, especially if your teammates are flankers. So what's going to happen is the opponents are like, that guy keeps going up to our mirror catwalk, and he keeps trying to chow us. Why don't we just rush him instead? And so 3 people are going to fly at you with slugs and fusions. So you need to anticipate that before it happens, jump back over, and use this piece of cover to hit your hand cannon headshots, but also still have your special if they're going to follow up while working towards your dark tunnel. So that is your plan, I guess your step 3 for if you're losing the timing of your catwalk challenge. If, for example, your radar suggests a lot of them are on catwalk, what you can do is you can jump up here. And now it's sort of a hand cannon fight, but if they slide forward with the slug, you can also still play the window. But you can also, if you back them down, assist your teammates if somebody's flying through dark to try to get a pinch. All the above. A lot of options, from recognizing that you won your catwalk mirror and taking this valuable space to faster collapse with teammate pushes. Does that make sense? So you might have noticed I swapped to a Warlock. That's for good reason, because what's going to happen is one round they're going to switch off of Igneous Hammer to a Polaris Lance or a Jade Rabbit or something like that, and it doesn't really matter where the zone is. There are so many spots that you can off-angle with a float to have absolute control over the map, to make those flanks really consistent. Just look at what you can do. Angles that they cannot anticipate. And you can do that while drifting closer and closer to them so that eventually you pinch them with your teammates. Dawnblade is really, really strong. I'm not going to do a structured guide for it. I'm just going to show you that one opener. Since I'm on Warlock for fun, I was playing Shadebinder. I don't actually think that class is as strong in this meta, but you can throw turrets all over this map, and I have a bunch of lineups that I've used in previous videos. I don't recommend it, even if it does put in work, even in solo queue. I would save that for organized 3s, and even then, I still think Shadebinder is just not as good as Dawnblade or even Voidwalker or Prism in this meta. And you can almost argue that Weeblock would do just as good as a stasis turret if you're playing with teammates that can follow up your invincibility. Okay, friends, that pretty much covers everything I wanted to talk about regarding Dead Cliffs. I'm sure I forgot something, but remember, this is for specifically Trials of Osiris. If this was a competitive guide, it would have different timings and different game sense reads in situations. But a lot of this does still apply to comp. Anyway, friends, let me know in the comment section if this was anywhere remotely helpful, and eventually I'm going to offer coaching if some of these concepts didn't immediately make sense to try to help you up your own game. Not doing that right now, but you'll know. I'll make a video and add it to the description when it is an option.